Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to quickly talk about the structure of the database application in the Visual Studio. So let's begin. Suppose you want to create the database application. At the first, let's talk about what is the database application. Suppose I have something like this in the SQL Server, and all of this data are available for me in the database and the SQL Server, for instance, or all the databases, including the F name, the L name, the mobile, the date of birth, and also the income. All of these belongs to the employees. So I have all of this data and records of the data, and I want to show it in the application. So we have something like this application. We can create it with the Visual Studio. So the same data, exactly like the SQL database, is available over here. We call this application as the database application or database app. In this section, you're going to learn how to create the database first, then how to create the application and load the data of the SQL in the application itself. For better understanding, let's take a quick look at the structure. Come over here and come to this one. At the beginning, let's see the structure of the database app. Each database application needs three main components. The first one is the database. So I have the database over here, and it is the first one. Then I have the application. We need to create the application by the Visual Studio. And finally, we need to use another technology, and it is ADO.NET technology to connect the database to the application. So this is the first step, creating the database, then creating the application, and finally we need to use the ADO.NET technology to connect and use the database inside the application by the Visual Studio. And it's very simple and straightforward. If I take a look over here in another structure, as you see, this is the quick structure of the ADO.NET technology and also the database application. At the first look, it's really complex and hard to learn. But don't worry about anything. Eventually, I'll talk about the different parts one by one, so you're going to learn it easily and quickly. So if I take a look over here, each database application has three main parts, as I mentioned, in this structure. So the first one is database site. I have all of these databases that I can connect to the application, including the Microsoft Access, SQLite, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and Microsoft SQL Server itself, and the Oracle. In the Visual Studio, we have different options and connectors for connecting the databases to the application. Then we have the application site. This was the database site. The next part is application site. In the application site, at the first step, we need to create, if I take a look, we need to create the application first. So this is the first one in the application site. In it, this is first, you can see it over here, creating the database. Then I have the application and we need to create that. And finally, we have the ADO.NET technology. All of these are ADO.NET technology. You can call it ADO.NET technology. So it's really simple and straightforward. Now we know at the first step we need to create the database. In this example, I want to work with the MS SQL or Microsoft SQL Server. Then we need to create the application. Previously, we talked about how to create the application, how to work with the different items, something like with the text boxes and labels. In this section, I'm going to show you how to work with this and also the data grid view control for creating the database application. Then we have the ADO.NET that is connector between the database and the application itself. It's really simple. Later, I'll talk about the ADO.NET in depth, so don't worry about anything. This is the first, this is the second, and this is the third part of creating the database application, exactly like this one, as I mentioned earlier, like this. Okay, I enjoyed it a lot. Now it's time to create the first step of designing the database application, and it is creating the database in the database management. In this example, I want to work with the MS SQL or SQL Server. So this is the result. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorial. So go ahead and install your SQL Server on your computer and also prepare your Visual Studio to creating the first database application. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start creating the database application by designing and creating the database itself in the SQL Server. So let's begin. First, we talked about the overall structure of the ADO.NET and the database application. So let's start creating our first step, and it is designing and adding the database. You can use different databases, including the Access, SQLite, all of this. But my favorite one is the Microsoft SQL Server. So let's start working with it. Currently, I assume that you are familiar with the SQL Server. So let's take over here and come to the SQL Server Management Studio. And this is come to the Connect and Database Engine. I want to connect it to the available servers on my computer. If I come over here and click on this, browse for more, you can see the list of available and installed server on your computer. Currently, I have only one server, and it is the SQL Express 2022 version. So this is my favorite one. And after that, the question is, can I use the older versions or the newer versions? Yes, of course. Why? Because this is the simple application for managing the students in the school. As the result, you can use any version of the SQL Server. I want to connect by the Windows authentication. So let's select the Windows authentication and click on the connect. This is the result. Come to the databases over here, and it's time to add the database. Currently, I can see the list of available databases over here, including the My Company and the SQL. So if you select the server itself, you can see the SQL Express 2022 version. Right click on that and come to the properties. Over here I have the database settings, and here I have the data location or the database folder. So let's copy this, select all, copy, come over here and paste it here and press enter. So I can see different files, and you can see the SQL MDF main database file or log file LDF. And also I have the next on My Company. You can see both the files over here. Let's add the new database. So cancel this, come over here and select this, right click on it and new database. For better understanding, if I take a look over here and go to the next step, exactly like this, the database design. I want to use the MySQL as the name for my new database. So it should be MySQL. And inside it, I have the students. In it, I want to create the student management application for managing the students, including the ID, first name, last name, up to the end. So let's do it. Come over here and come to this. And if I take a look, let's name it MySQL. So this is MySQL and click on the OK easily and quickly. Before that, you can see more information about the file, including the size, the location, and all the information. This is not necessary to memorize all of this. I have two files. The first one is primary, and the next one is log file, and click OK. After a couple of seconds, the file will be added over here. If you can't see it, you can select the databases and refresh like this. So it is over here, MySQL, and click on it. Currently, I haven't any tables inside it, so we need to add the tables. And also, if I come over here and come to this, I can see the MySQL over here. One file is MDF or main data file, and also the next one is log or LDF. Now let's come here, and in the next step it's time to add the table. Its name should be a student with all of these columns inside it. The question is, can I add all the columns to my database and the table? Yes, you can add any number of all the columns. This is the tutorial, and this is indeed the sample database. So I use all of this. In addition, you can use any other columns that you want. Now let's go over here and come to this, select the tables and right click on it, new, and the table. At the beginning, I need to add the ID. So if I select this and put it over here, and after that, this over here. At the beginning, I need to add the ID. So the column name is ID. Select this and right click on it and set it as primary key. This is the primary key, so it can't be null and also it can't be duplicate. This is the meaning of primary key. Come to the data type and select the int up to, if I take a look, this is the int, and it can be up to 2 billion numbers and records over here. And as you see, it can't be null because it is the primary key. And you can see the ID over here. And also I want to make it auto increment or auto generated number. So let's go over here, select the ID itself, come to the properties, and here I have the identity. By default it is no. Let's select this and set it as the yes. So I have the identity increment or amount of increment, and also I have the identity seed or the first auto-generated number. My first ID should be number 1. You can change it up to, for instance, 100. Then your first ID should be 100 and add the numbers one by one starting from the 100. Let's select the number 1 like this. So in the next step, it's time to add the F name or first name. You can write the first name like this, first and name. In the naming, you can use two methods. At the first step, we can use the uppercase for the first letter of each part. For instance, the uppercase F for the first, uppercase N for the name. In addition, you can use the next one and write first underscore name. You can use this method or the next one. You are completely free. Let's select the first, then the name like this. So the N and the F is uppercase. And its type should be variable. So let's select the N varchar up to 50 letters. It can be the variable length up to 50 letters. So it's enough, I think, up to 50 letters for the first name. To split my tutorial, let's copy this and paste it over here. And the next one is last name. So this is last name. Let's name it, and it is up to 50 characters. Let's assign it up to, for instance, 70 characters. I have used the n varchar because I want to add the Unicode characters. So the n means Unicode characters. And also I want to add the variable characters. For instance, one name maybe has up to 10 letters, or the next one up to 20 letters or 30 letters. So it is variable characters and the Unicode variable characters because of the n at the beginning. N means Unicode, and it can be null. So check this checkbox. And the next one is the date of birth or DOB. I can name it DOB or date of birth. So cover here, and here I have the date. So you can freely use the date over here. And after that, I have the grade. The grade is number. So it is between 1 up to 12. As the result, I can select this, for instance, and come to this and name it the grade. This is my grade. Also, you can use the character. As the result, you can name it nvarchar. You are completely free to select anything that you want. As I mentioned, the grade is the number between 1 up to 12. So we don't need to use the int. Instead of that, if I search the Google, come over here and search for the different data types or the numeric data types in the SQL. So I have the big int, it's a really big number. And also I have the int. It is between negative 2 billion up to positive 2 billion. And also I have the small int between negative 32,000 up to positive 32,000. And finally, I have the tiny int, the numbers between the 0 up to 255. So this is great for us because my number is between 1 up to 12. So come here and select this and name it the tiny int This is the tiny int. And the question is, can I use all the data types? For instance, the bigger one, something like the small int. Yes, you can, but it's not necessary to do that. It's better to use the appropriate data type for the sake of the size of database. Now let's come over here and come to this one, and in the next step I need to add the class. The class is a string or the text. So let's copy this and paste it over here. For instance, class A, class B, class G1, class G2 up to the end. And it is the class. This is the class, and I can set it up to, for instance, 20, like this. You are completely free to select any number that you want, but my favorite one in this example is 20 characters, or the 20 Unicode characters. And the next one is mobile, or the cell number. So let's copy this and come to this and name it the mobile. You can write the cell number or the landline. You are completely free. So this is the mobile. Sometimes we need to add the special characters, for instance, like this, then add the hyphen or add the parenthesis and write some number inside it. As the result, we can't use the number data type for the mobile. And the best option is nvarchar. So nvarchar up to, for instance, 30 or 50 for multiple mobile numbers. And it is the Unicode, so I use the nvarchar. The next one is email. The email is something like the mobile. So let's copy that and paste it over here and name it email. And it is this, I think, is enough. And the next one, if I take a look, is address. So let's copy this and paste over here and name it the address. And add it up to, for instance, 300 or 400. And this is the address, so we need a lot of characters inside it. And after that, I have the comment. So let's copy the address and paste over here. The comment up to, for instance, 200 based on our needs. 200. And finally, we have the rec information for saving the registration data, including the register user, the date of registration, the time of registration. So we need to add 3 different columns over here. And let's select the email first and come to this and paste it and name it rec date. So this is the rec date, or we can name it rec user based on this order, rec user. And it is up to nvarchar 50 characters. It's enough, I think. And after that, I can come over here and name it the rec date, like this. This is the date. So it's a really great idea to use the date data type over here. And after that, I have the rec time. So let's select this and copy and paste over here, rec time. So this is the time. It's a really great idea to come over here and select the time, like this, time 7. Currently, I assume that you are familiar with all of this. If you don't know anything about it, you can watch this video multiple times to learn deeply. So this is the last one, and is it the rec time, the rec date? Let's check all of this one by one. Rec user and the address, and I have another one, and this is indeed the address one. Let's change it to comment, and this is the comment indeed. And the next one is address, the email, the mobile, the class, the grade, date of birth, last name, first name, and the ID. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So everything is great and amazing. Now let's save the table itself, and its name is students. So students, like this, and click OK. So it's added, and if I take a look over here, the tables currently it is empty. Right click on it, refresh. So I have the students over here. And in this step, if I right click on it and select top records, as you see, it is completely empty and I haven't any record inside it. We need to add some sample data for better results in the application design. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Welcome back. Now let's talk about how we can add the sample data inside my table. So come here and come to this one. This is the students, right click on it and come to the edit records easily and quickly. In the different versions of the SQL server, you need to check which one is edit. So in this version 2022, it is edit top records over here. After a couple of seconds, it is ready. The ID, as I mentioned, is auto increment. So let's leave it. The next one is first name. Let's name it, for instance, the Bob. The next one is Peterson. And date of birth. Date of birth is really special. Why? Because we need to use the correct format. Let's name it, for instance, 2023 hyphen or the slash like this. And after that, the month is 10. Then the day is, for instance, 15. And click over here. So in this example, the first part is the year. The next one is the month. And the next one is the day. And if I click over here, it's saved without any problem. But if I take a look over here and come to this, or let's add the next one over here and say 2023, the hyphen, then the 15 over here, and after that the 09. Now if I click over here, you can see invalid value for cell. Why? Because the value is not recognized as the valid date time. You can see the date time over here. It means the format is not correct. So we need to change it and everything will be done. So the grade, if I take a look over here, the grade data type, we need to add the appropriate data. So the grade is tiny int. As the result, let's name it, for instance, 3, grade 3. The class is G2 or G3, for instance. And the next one is cell number, and let's name it like this. Cell number, email, the test at gmail.com. Resize it a little bit, and this one also. And the next one is address. Let's name it like this. The comment, this, and the reg user. Let's name it Sarah. The username and the date. The date is exactly like this, so let's copy this and paste over here and change it. For instance, up to 12, and this one up to 25. And the reg time. So the reg time is really simple. Let's name it, for instance, 13 colon 40, and let's leave the second. You can see the second is 0 over here, and if I resize it a little bit, is not important matter. So everything is done. Now I added successfully one record. As I mentioned, the most important one is the date. You need to use the appropriate and correct format for the date. And after that, if I take a look in the date and add something else, for instance 24, the day slash, then the 10, the month, and the year 2023. So this is the day, month, and the year. And if I click over here, you can see it's not recognized as the valid.NET Framework date time. So it's not valid. It means I need to change it. For instance, let's name it 12 and name this one as 20. And let's check it. So it's worked without any problem. Now I can easily come over here and add the next name, for instance, the John and the Johnson. This is the date, and the grade is 12 and GR12, for instance, or the cell number, and also this is the email. Let's name it test1, address, comment, and the user is Sarah, exactly like previous one. And this is the date. I can change it up to, for instance, 10 and the date. But if I take a look, it's not correct. Yes, it's not correct because it is 120. And the next one is 2303. So it's done. Now it's time to add the remaining items like this one. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Welcome back. Now I added up to 8 different records over here. Also, as you see over here, I have some null values, and the adding the null is really simple and straightforward. For instance, this is the delete, just write uppercase null like this. Null. Also, I can come over here and click on the next one, and let's use the lowercase like this. The lowercase, and if I take a look, so it's saved without any problem. And let's come over here and say gently, easily, and quickly. Congratulations, now my mission is accomplished successfully. Now I have the database, my SQL, and also I have the students table and all of these items over here. So in the next step, it's time to start using it. As I mentioned previously, if I take a look, currently I have the database. You can see it over here. In the next step, we need to design the application, and inside it, use the edu technology. In it, we successfully added the first step and the database. So let's talk about the next and upcoming steps in the future videos. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start creating the project in the C# and the Visual Studio to use our database. So let's begin. First, we talked about how to create the database in the SQL Server. So we have the database over here filled with all of this data. In the next step, it's time to use them. If you want to use this data, as I mentioned previously, we need to create the application in the Visual Studio and the C#, then start working with the edu technology. So let's do it in the action. Come over here and come to this one. To do that, we have two options. First, I can come to the file and close the solution and start adding the new solution. Or I can come over here, select the solution itself and add the project to the existing solution. Add and the new project. I want to add the project to this solution. And after that, I have the C#. Let's select this, the C# and the Windows for the desktop applications, and come to this, the Windows Form application by the .NET Core technology, or the older version by the .NET Framework technology. Don't use the .NET Framework because it is out of dated, and also the newer version is the .NET Core and the Windows Form by the .NET Core. So it is the C# Windows and the desktop. Come to the next. In this window, we need to assign the name for my project. Let's name it as students, and it is inside the solution folder. Now come to the next. In this window, if I take a look, we need to select the engine or framework of the project. By default, it is the .NET 7, or you can use the older versions. You know what? This is the simple database application. So the version of the .NET Core is not important matter. You can use the older or the newer versions. Select this and come to the create. Hold on, now my project is added successfully over here. So let's select the students, and after that set it as the default or the startup project. And after that, I have the form 1. This is the default form. Now it's time to delete the form 1. Let's close it first. Come to save, and before doing anything, let's rebuild the project to prevent any unexpected errors. It's a really important step and matter. After a couple of seconds, it's done. Now let's select the form 1, right click on it, and delete that. Yes, delete that. Come to the students, right click on it, add, and after that, no item. Or you can directly select the form from here. I want to add the new form, and it is the student registration. So I can come over here and select the form and say S2 or students reg, R-E-G. And I'm going to use the R as uppercase and also the S as uppercase. You can use this naming, or you can write complete name student. And this is the result, a student reg or registration, and add it into your project. So it's added over here, and in the next step it's time to get inside the program and change the startup form. This is the form 1, so let's select that and say student reg, and this is the result. Let's save it, And the next step, come to the student rec form. This is, let's select that and resize it up to here. For instance, come to the properties. I want to assign the default properties to the form like previous one. So this is a student rec. Now set the startup position to the center screen. And this is the icon. I can hide it. Show icon. No, I don't want to add any icon. Then I have the maximize and minimize. I don't need to use the maximize, so I can hide it. And also I don't want to use the minimize box, so hide it also. And after that I have the font, so I have the for color and for border style, set it to the fixed single, so the user can't resize the form. Now let's save everything, and if I run I can see the result after a couple of seconds. Well done, it's working perfectly. Come over here and stop it. And the next step is time to start working with the ADO.NET technology. Later I'll show you how to complete the design of your form, so don't worry about anything. And the next step is time to start working with the ADO.NET technology, and especially adding the dataset. So what is the dataset? The dataset is something like the database, but it exists inside the application and won't copy to the output directory. So if I come over here and come to this one, if I select the Visual Studio, come to the students, it's a great idea to add the dataset inside the folder. So let's create the folder and name it DS. It stands for dataset. So if I right click on the DS, add a new item. I want to add the new dataset. So this is the data, select that and dataset. Now let's submit SQL DS using the uppercase D and uppercase S and add it over here. So I want to add something like this. Currently my database is MySQL, and after that I have the students inside it. As I mentioned, the data set is something like the database, but in the memory of the application. So if I take a look over here, currently the data set is added over here, and if I click on it, it is completely empty. Indeed, I want to add the items to the data set, add the data table, then add the table adapter, the connection, and all of this. Step by step, I show you how to work with this. So the first step is adding the data set, and as I mentioned, it will be inside the application memory. So come over here. Currently, if I take a look, it is over here. Right click on that, open containing folder. Currently it is the file, and it has different files over here, including the designer. And if I expand this, come to the designer is auto-generated codes by the Visual Studio, so don't change anything inside it. And after that I have the next one, XSC. It's also empty because we haven't any data table inside the data set. So this is the result. Now if I come to the save and rebuild the project, let's see, rebuild, and come to open containing folder. After that, get inside the bin, and the next one is debug the .NET. As you see, I haven't any kind of the dataset over here because, as I mentioned, the dataset will be inside the application memory. So if I run the application directly, it is inside the application, but I can't see it directly. We can use it by the methods and the properties of it. So this was the quick tour about the dataset. In the next step is time to add the connection, then the table adapter and the data table. All of these are really simple and straightforward. Just stay with me. Go ahead and open up your project and start adding the project to your solution and add the dataset to that. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start adding the data table by using the table adapter and the connection inside the dataset. So let's begin. Till now, we talked about how to create the database, and this is my database. And after that, how to create our project, and this is my project, and also how to add the dataset. So I have the dataset over here. As I mentioned, the dataset is a kind of a mirror or the clone of the database. So all of the tables should be inside the dataset and over here. We call the tables as the data table. For each table inside the SQL server, we have the appropriate data table over here. So if I take a look over here, for instance, for each table, currently I have only the students table. So we need to add the students data table inside the dataset one by one. The process of adding it is really simple and automatic by the table adapter. Then we're going to use the table adapter to execute these queries or commands to load the data, add the data, update the data, and also delete the data. Later and eventually I'll talk about how to work with the query, so don't worry about anything. Now let's come over here and come to the next step, and let's start adding the table adapter. Come over here and come to this one. Before doing anything, right click on the dataset and table adapter. At the first step, we need to add the connection. The connection tells the table adapter the location of the database, the server name, username, and the password. So come over here and come to this one and new connection. By default, I have the data source. It is Microsoft SQL Server and the Microsoft SQL client. Come to the change. Currently, I have all of these options, but let's select the Microsoft SQL Server. And in this combo box, I have different options. Let's select the Microsoft SQL client because this is the .NET Core technology provider, SQL client, like this. And click OK. So it's done. In the next step, it's time to add the server name. Come to the SQL server and let's select this one. Indeed, I want to get access to my PC SQL server. This is my server name. So if I click over here, database engine, I can copy it from here easily and quickly. Come to the Visual Studio and paste over here. I want to work with the Windows authentication, so we don't need to add the username or password. Also, you can use the SQL Server authentication and add your username password, but personally, I prefer to use the Windows authentication. Come to the next. In this combo box, if your connection is succeeded, then you can get access to the existing databases, including the MySQL, My Company, and SQL. And if I take a look over here, I have the My Company, MySQL, and also the SQL. So it's done and my connection is successful. I want to connect to the MySQL. So let's select the MySQL and test connection. Test connection succeeded. It means all of these are correct and click OK easily and quickly. So after a couple of seconds, my new connection is added over here. My PC SQL Express, MySQL DBO. Show connection, and as you see, if I take a look and let's resize it up to here. Great. So I have the data source and it is my server name, and after that my SQL, it is my database name. Now come to the next, and this is in this step I want to work with the SQL queries or SQL statements. As I mentioned, the table adapter uses the SQL queries for adding, editing, updating, and deleting the records of the data inside the database. So the table adapter, based on the changes inside the data table, will execute one of these queries and save back the data inside the database. So come here and come to this one, go to the next. In this text box, we need to add the select query to select the columns and load the data. So I can come over here, get inside the SQL server and come to this, the MySQL, the students, right click on it, select records. I can copy all of this, the select query that is executed to select all of these columns up to here. I don't need to use up to 1000 records, so I can easily delete that. And the result is like this. Select ID, first name up to the end from MySQL, DBO, and the student. So I need to copy this and paste it over here easily and quickly. So it's done, and we need to get inside the next easily. And after a couple of seconds, I can go to the next one, and you can see all of these are generated automatically. This was the simple method. In addition, we have the advanced method, and it is using the query builder. The query builder, before using it, let's select this and delete that entirely. Come to the query builder. In the query builder, at the first step, we need to add the table. I want to add the students table. Indeed, this is students table. This is. So come over here and students, add it. If you can't see your students table over here, it means refresh that. So let's select this and add it and close this. This is the query builder, the location that you can create your own custom query easily and quickly. So it has 4 windows, 4 parts or 4 panes. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the top, I have all of these options. And if I select, for instance, all columns, so based on your selection, the next one is generated and also the next. And if I execute the query, so based on this query, I have all of this data over here. You can see the data is loaded exactly this data over here. Now in the next step, I can click OK, and you can see it's added over here. But in the next time, if I click on the query builder, then the query is generated completely like this. Indeed, this one is exactly like the similar one without any problem. So let's select this and delete that entirely. Now I haven't anything over here. Right click on it and add table like this students and add it over here. So I can add the items one by one, and if you can get access to this, right click on it, pane or part, diagram. Then if I take a look, pane criteria, the pane, the SQL, the pane, and the result is over here. So let's set it back, the diagram. The next one is criteria, and the next one is SQL. So let's select the columns that we want to load inside the application. For instance, I want to load all of these columns. So let's select the ID, the first name, the last name, the date of birth, the grade, the class. And after that, I have the mobile, the email, address, comment, rec user, rec date, and rec time. This is the first query. So you need to select all of these one by one. Based on your selection, the codes will be generated over here. You can see the select query, and as you see, all of these are generated over here. And also it's added to this pane, and you can see it over here. Let's select this. Great. The ID, the first name, the last name, up to the end. If you change anything over here or here or over here, then the results will be changed in the different panes. For instance, if I delete the ID from here like this, then the result is, if I execute the query, you can see the ID is deleted from here, and also the ID is unchecked from this one. Or even if I check this back, then the ID is added over here, and let's execute the query. So the ID is added, and if I take a look, where are you ID? If you can see the ID, no worry. And if I take a look, the ID is unchecked, no worries. Let's check it one more time, back like this. So the ID is added over here, and based on it, if I take a look, the ID is added over here. All of these are available. So let's select this and delete entirely, and come over here, right click on it, add table, and add it. Now let's select the columns one by one easily and quickly like this. So let's select this and also all of this one by one. And also we can change the order. For instance, I can change the order, the first name, I can cut that. And if I do it one more time, cut the first name and paste it over here. So in the result, you can see the changes. The last name is over here, then the first name, and you can see the first name is added over here. No worries. I can also cut this and paste it over here without any problem like this. So it's added the first name, the last name. And also the changes is reflected over here. The last name, the first name. Then I have the check selection over here. So let's select this, the first name, cut that, and paste it over here like this, the first name and the last name. Now let's execute the query and the first name, the last name. Also, you can select this and right click on it, delete, cut, copy, and all of these are available over here. So this was the quick tour about the query builder. I love the query builder because it gives me a lot of tools and features for generating my own query. Now my select query is selected and generated over here. Click OK. So you can see the select query over here. As I mentioned, we need to select all of the columns one by one over here. Now in the advanced options, I have 3 different checkboxes to generate automatically the insert, update, delete. You know what? If you wanna save back the changes inside the database, indeed come to this one and add the new record. I want to add the new record to the database. For instance, I want to add the new record to the database, or I want to edit or delete. Then we need to execute the different queries by the table adapter. So at the first step, we need to create the select query. Then based on the select query, the table adapter automatically will generate the insert query for adding the new record, update query for editing and saving back the changes to the database, and delete query for deleting the records from the database directly. So all of these are automatically generated based on the select query. It's a really important matter. So come over here and come to this one. Do you want to generate automatically the insert, update, and delete queries? Yes, do it. Do you want to add more guards to it? Yes, add it. Do you want to load the data after the insert and update? Yes, check this checkbox. So check all of these checkboxes, click OK, and come to the next. In this window, we need to choose the methods to generate. By default, do you want to fill the data table? Yes, I want to fill the data table by this method. Indeed, if you want to execute the select query and load the data by this, then add the fill method to my table adapter. And after calling the fill method in my table adapter, this query will be executed to load the data. And after that, do you want to return the data in the new data table? No, I don't want to do that. So uncheck this checkbox. And also, as you see over here, create insert, update, delete methods over here and come to the next. As you see, all of these are checked. It means everything is working. Generate select query, insert, update, delete, and generate table mapping fill up to the end. But if you have the same problem inside your select query, for instance, like this, then come to the next. So generated select statement, invalid object name is stood. And this is a really important matter to write the correct select query over here. Come to the next, and you can see the fill, the next. And the question is, can I change the fill method? Yes, you can change it to anything that you want. But personally, I prefer to leave it. Or you can write, for instance, fill all and come to the next. So the fill all is generated and also the remaining queries and finish. After a couple of seconds, everything will be automatically generated. Indeed, based on my table adapter, it's time to generate the data table. And if I take a look over here, congratulations, now my data table is generated over here based on the table inside my SQL server. Based on this one and these columns, all of these are available now inside my dataset. Let's save everything, and after that let's rebuild the project to be sure everything is working perfectly. As you see over here, I have the table adapter. You can see the table adapter, and it has the fill method, fill all. If you right click on this and preview data, Then you can see the results, the SQLDS student data table, and the field of select this and preview. So you can see the results over here, all of these records exactly like this. And if I take a look, great and amazing. I have up to 13 records. Well done. Now we learned how to add the table adapter, how to add the data table and create the connection between the table adapter and automatically generate the data table. So it's done. Now we have successfully completed the ADO.NET up to here. But in the next video, I want to talk deeply about the table adapter, the connection string, and also the data table. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorial. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to take a deeper look into the data table, the table adapter, and the connection. So let's see it. First, we talked about how to add the data table and also the table adapter. Indeed, we are over here. We added the table adapter and also all of these queries, the connection, and the data table. So in this step, by using the table adapter, we can load the data from the database and fill it inside the data table. It's very simple and straightforward. Later, in my upcoming tutorial, I'll show you how to use the binding source to connect the data inside the data table into the application, and the result is something like this. So let's take a deeper look inside the Visual Studio over here. At the beginning, let's take a deeper look into the data table. This is my data table and it is a students. And if I select this, put it over here, and after that, if I take a look, great. Now I have the students, right click on it, get inside the design. And this is the design of my data table. As you see, I have the ID. You can see the ID over here. It is primary key, exactly like this. And after that, its type is integer. You can see the integer over here. And if I take a look, the type is over here. The data type is system int 32. The system int 32 is something like the int in the SQL server. This is in the .NET Core. So it is inside the system.int32. And after that, you can see allow null is unchecked. So allow db null unchecked or false over here. And it is auto increment. If I take a look over here, you can see it is the and identity. You can see the identity over here, and the increment is 1 and the first number is 1. So as you see, it is auto increment. So if I take a look over here, come to the ID, then get inside the properties, and the identity is yes. First, we talked about this matter. And also, if I take a look, I have the first name. You can see the first name is type is a string, and the first name in the database is nvarchar up to 50 characters. So I have the max length up to 50 characters. As you see, based on the columns inside my data table, inside my SQL server, we have similar that over here inside my dataset and the data table. We call this as data table and call this as the table. So table, data table. And after this, if I take a look into another one, you can see the max length over here and also its data type. Then its caption is this and the name is this one. You don't need to memorize all of this. I'll talk about this matter for your deeper understanding. And after this, I have the students. So if you select the students itself, you have all of this, the case sensitive false, local, up to the name. Now let's select the table adapter and talk more about it. As you see over here, I have the table adapter. So the table adapter is connector between the data table and the database. So as you see over here, I have the SQL queries, the language between the database and also the data table, including the insert, select, update, and delete. Firstly, we talked about this matter, and also we have the connection over here. So if I take a look in the Visual Studio, and let's resize it up to this one, and also I can move it. And first we talked about another one, and if I take a look inside the dataset, inside the XSC, you can see these are added based on the new data table, and also the next one, these are added based on the new data table over here. So come over here and select the table adapter, and in the properties, at the first step, I have the connection. You can see the connection over here. And also you can change the connection of my table adapter. Suppose you want to change the server. Currently, my server is this server. Indeed, is this server. Suppose you want to change your server. Then you need to change it in your table adapter. So over here, select this, come to the connection and change it from here. You can select another one or come to the new connection. And exactly like previous tutorial, change it from here. And after this, if I expand that, I have the name of my connection, then the modifier, then the connection string. You can see the connection string over here. The connection string is the text that includes the server name, then the database name, and all the credential information, including the username and password if we need it. Then I have the provider, Microsoft Data, SQL client, and the modifier is internal. So this was about the connection. In the next step, I have the select query. So you can see the select command over here. And this is the select command if you hover on it. And also I have the parameters. Let's leave it. Currently, we don't need to work with it. And after the select query, as I mentioned, the table adapter will generate the insert, update, and delete queries. So this is the results. I have the, if I take a look, the delete query or delete command for deleting the records from the database. And the command is something like this. You can click on it. As I say, it is a really big one. And from here up to here, if you click on the execute query, we need to assign all of these parameters to delete one record. But don't change anything over here because all of these codes are automatically generated based on your select query. As the result, never change anything over here manually. If you want to change something here, you need to configure your data table and table adapter. It's really simple. You can come to the table adapter itself, right click on it and configure. So this is the configure. Based on this, you can get inside the query builder, change the query, then automatically based on your changes, three items, insert, update, and delete will be automatically generated easily and quickly over here and come to the finish. Currently, I have only one method and it is fill on. So you can, instead of configuring the table adapter, you can select this and configure it. So we have something like this over here up to the end. Now let's look at the table adapter one more time, and I have the delete command. Also, I have the insert command to add the new record to the database. So it is like this. And also I have the parameters, and if you select this and click on it. So I have this one and execute. So we need to assign all of these parameters to add the new record. As I mentioned, don't change anything over here because these should be automatically generated by the table adapter based on the select query. And after that, I have the update command to save back the changes into the database or update the data. And it is a really big query. So it is like this. If I change it like this, it's a really big one and execute. So we need to assign all of these parameters and values to update the data of the selected record easily and quickly. Now let's cancel this, and like person, never change anything over here because it should be automatically generated. Well done. Now we learned more about the data table, the table adapter, and also the connection. In addition, if you want to change the connection, you have another option. You can select the table adapter itself, come to the configure, and come to the previous. This is previous, and I have the new connection over here, and I can easily change the connection from here. Then you need to get to the next up to the finish. Okay, I enjoyed a lot. Now we learned deeply about the table adapter, the data table, and the connection. So what about the next step? In the next step, it's time to start working with the binding source and designing the items on the window and connect the data inside my data table to the items on the form using the binding source. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start designing the student registration form. So let's begin. Then now we talk about how to create the database, add the dataset, table adapter, and the data table. And the next step is time to design the data entry form for my students. So let's do it. Come over here, and this is the example. We have some buttons at the top. Then I have the group box, and inside it I have all of these items to add and enter the data inside them. And also we have the data grid view over here to show the records of existing information and the data. So let's start designing the data entry form. Come over here and come to the Visual Studio. If you can see the toolbox items over here, it means you need to close the Visual Studio and open it from scratch. This is the bug of the Visual Studio, that you can't see the tools inside the toolbox. At the first step, we need to design the buttons at the top. We have two options. First, we can add the simple buttons and add some images to them. Or in the next step, we can use the tool strip. The tool strip is really great, and also it's new in this course. So let's come over here, and here I have the tool strip. This is the tool strip, drag and drop over here. Select the tool strip itself. Currently I can't resize it, so come to the properties, and as you see over here I have the auto size. Set the auto size to false. Now I can resize it manually to anything that I want, up to here for instance. And the next step is time to add the items. So currently let's leave them. Later I'll show you how to add the items to that. And the next one, if I take a look, I need to add the group box over here and add some items inside it. So I'll come over here, and this is my group box. Drag and drop over here. Now I can select that and resize it like this up to here, for instance. So this is the result. We have a lot of items that we need to add them over here. Now let's select this and resize the form itself up to here. And in the next item is the data grid view control. So come over here and come to this data grid view. This is the data grid view. Drag and drop over here, and let's select this and put it over here. In addition, we need to add some items at the bottom, including 3 items. If I take a look over here, we have 3 items, including the rec user, rec date, and rec time. So we need to add them at the bottom of my form over here. It means we need to add another panel. So come over here and select the panel. This is the panel, and put it over here. Now let's come to the properties and set the border style, set it to fixed single, and also set the dock and dock it to the bottom of form, exactly over here. So I can resize it up to this one, for instance. Now let's select this and resize it like this one. So I have the tool strip at the top, the group box, the data grid view control, and the panel for my labels at the bottom. Now let's select the group box, come over here and set it the details. So it's done, and it's a really great idea to run the application and check the structure of the form. Well done. The overall structure looks good. And in the next step, it's time to add the items to the tool strip one by one. It's time consuming, so let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorial. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start completing the tool script by adding the appropriate buttons to that. So let's do it. First, we talked about how to design the overall structure of the form. So let's start working with the first step, and it is the toolbar or tool script over here. As you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 buttons at the top to add, edit, and delete the record. We can use the buttons, but personally, I prefer to use the toolbar or tool strip over here. So this is the result. Come over here, select this, and add the button. This is my button. It is only image. Come to the display style and set it to the image and text. So I have the image and text. Come to the properties, and over here I have the text image relation. You can see it and click on it. Image about text. So we have something like this over here, exactly what we need. In addition, you can customize the location of the text by the text align, and also the location of the image by image align. But currently we don't need to add anything over here. So come here and come to the next one. In the next step, it's really great idea to add the image to this. To start my tutorial, I downloaded all the required images and I put them over here inside the images, audio.net, and the data entry buttons. And if I hover on the image, it is 24 in 24 pixels. Or you can come over here, right click, properties, and get inside the size, the details, and the size is over here. Now let's copy all of this and let's select this and copy. Come to the project and the project properties over here. As you see over here, I have the resources and the general. First, we talked about this matter and how to work with the resources. So create or open assembly resources, click on it, get inside the resources, come to the strings and set it to the images because I want to add the images inside my resources and paste. You know what? Adding the images to the resources means you can use the images everywhere inside your project, and you can use them multiple times in your project in the different forms. So let's save everything, and it's really important matter to save the resources. Now let's select the student rec. Come over here. This is the student rec, and come to this one and get inside the image. This is the image, so let's select this, come to the resource and the new one. This is the new button, and you can see it over here. In the next step, I have the image scaling. Let's set it to none. Then I have the image as the full size like this. Come to this one, and I can easily select this, come to the text and change it to the new like this. If I take a look, it is the new, or add no, no worries. And let's add the add no like this, add no. So in the next step, it's really great idea to increase the width of this button. So let's select the button, come to this one, and before doing anything, let's change the name of button and name it new but, exactly like this. After that, I have the auto size. Let's select this and change it to the false. Now let's select the fonts to the auto size, and after that come to the size. I want to increase the width of my button, so let's change it up to, for instance, 110 like this. So it's done, and now it's bigger. And in the next step, it's time to repeat these steps for the remaining items. And also, if I select this, come to the properties, the font is a little bit big one. I can easily decrease that up to, for instance, 11. Let's check it, and now it looks better, I think. And also let's select this and resize the height like this, and it looks better, I think. Now let's select this and add the separator. This is the separator, and I can select this and right click. If you can select the button, it means you need to save everything. Come to this and open your form from scratch. It's really simple and straightforward. So save it me. Welcome back. Now I opened my form one more time. So let's select this and copy. Select the tool strip and paste it over here. And after that, let's add the separator. This is my separator. The next one, the separator, the next one, and the separator, and the next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can select the next, and if I take a look over here, it is the edit. This is the edit, the delete, and the save and the cancel. So let's select this, and it is to button 1. Let's name it edit. Edit bot. This is edit bot. The next one, if I take a look, is delete bot or del bot. Del bot. And the next one is save. So it is save bot. We need to assign the unique name for this for faster working with them. And this is the cancel bot. Cancel bot. And you are completely free to use anything and any name that you want. So let's select this. It is add new, and now let's scroll down, and this is change it to the edit. You can see the edit over here. The next one is say is delete. So let's write delete, and this is the save. So it is save and cancel like this, cancel. And after all of this, let's select the second one and come to the properties and the image. I have the image over here. So let's select that and change it to the edit. So this is the edit. And the next one, if I take a look, is the delete. So project resource and the delete. And the next one is save. So come over here and select the save from the project resource. This is the save. And finally, I have the cancel. So I can come over here and select the cancel from the project resource like this. Now it's a really great idea to add another separator and put it over here. And let's put it beside that. Great. Now I have the add, edit, delete, save, and cancel. Let's save everything and run and check it in the actual situations. So come over here and select this. It's working and everything looks great and amazing. So what about the next step? The next step is time to add the items to the group box. It's time consuming, so stay with me with my next and upcoming tutorial. Go ahead and open up your project and start adding the appropriate buttons to your tool lister. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start adding the items to your form. So let's begin. First, we talked about how to add the buttons at the top of my form. And the next step is time to add these items and also the items at the bottom of my form. So let's do it. Come over here and come to this one. As you see, I have the label, then the text box, the label, the text box, up to the label, the date time picker. And also I have the income, and it is something like this. So let's do it in the action. Come over here, and at the beginning, let's add the label over here. But we need to use the list of the items. So we have two options. First, I can come over here and start working with these items from here. Or you can get inside the dataset itself and select that and put it over here beside the form itself like this. Now, this is my first item and it is ID. So I can copy the ID from here and come to this, get inside the properties over here. This is the text and paste it here. But copy and pasting the name from here is really dangerous, and you should be smart and you should be careful about deleting the names. The next one is first name. So come over here. This is the ID. And before adding it, come over here and add the text box. This is my text box and put it over here. This is the ID and I can resize it up to here. Also, it's a really great idea to add the colon at the end of the ID. Now let's come over here and select this and put it a little bit at the top like this. And also let's copy and paste over here for the next item. The next item is first name. And after that, the next one is the last name. You can see the last name over here. And the next one is date of birth. So for the date of birth, we can use another item. So Let's select this and put it over here and delete this. For the date of birth, I have the date time picker. So you can see the date time picker over here. Select this and put it over here. Currently, I have the long format for my date over here. Get inside the properties of the date time picker. And at the beginning, let's change the name and name it date of birth. And this is date time picker or DTP, date time picker. So come over here and come to the format. You can see the format is long. You can select the short format. So this is the short, the time format. And also if I take a look, I have the custom. Let's select the short format. It's great and ideal for our project. And after that, I have the cursor. It's a really great idea to change the cursor to the hand, my favorite one. And then I have another one, and if I take a look, we have the right to left layout for the right to left languages like the Arabic or even the Persian. You can see it's something like this. So let's set them to the no, because I want to work with the English version of the language. So it's done. Now I have the date of birth and the grade. Let's copy this and paste it over here for the grade. For the grade, we can use the another control. And if I take a look, we can use the numeric up down. So over here, I have the numeric up down. Where are your grades? Numeric up down, and we can change it like this. Or even we can use another control and put it away and select the combo box. You are completely free to use different and appropriate control for yourself. This is come to the properties and get inside the items. You can see the items of combo box over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 10, 11, and 12, and click OK. So it's done. And in the next step, it's a really great idea to assign the drop down style. You can see the drop down, then you can write anything that you want, or you want to lock it. So let's set it to the drop down list like this. So it's locked completely and I can't write anything inside it. So if I run the application, I can see the result. So if I take a look over here, currently I can only select the item from the combo box and I can't write anything inside it. But let's leave it by default and set it to the drop down. And where are you? Great. Let's select this one more time. Go to the properties and select the drop down. Let's set it to the drop down. So it is free to write anything that I want. And after that, if I take a look, I have the grade and the class. So I can come over here and we have the predefined classes. So I can use the combo box for the class. So let's copy this and paste it over here like this one. And after that, let's select this, get inside the items, click on it, and write, for instance, G1, G2, G3, or A1, then A2, A3, up to the end, B1, B2, B3. Also, you can write anything that you want over here. So this was about the combo box. Also, if you don't want to use the combo box, it's really simple. Use the text box easily. And after that, I have the mobile. So let's copy this and paste the mobile over here. This is the mobile. Then I have the email, and this is the email easily. And click the, and after that, I have the address. So this is the address. I can resize the text box up to here. And also the next one is comment, and indeed the last one. So paste it over here and resize it like this. In addition, I can come over here and resize it up to here for more space. And also I can select this, move it a little bit to the top. And this is enough, I think. And also this one over here. It looks better now, I think. So this is the result. Now I have all of these items that we need to add the label one by one. This is the ID. The next one is first name. So this is my first name. Come to the properties and assign the first name over here and the colon. Don't forget to add the colon. Then we need to add all of this one by one. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Well done. Now I added all of this. So let's select all of them over here. And it's time to move them up to here like this. It looks great and amazing. Also, I can select all of this and resize them up to here. Then we have the ID. The ID is auto-generated number. So we need to lock this text box. And first we talked about this matter. And if I want to lock the text box, the only thing we need is assigning the read only to the true. So it's done. Now I can't write anything inside the ID. And as I mentioned, because it is auto-generated number. And if I take a look over here, this is the primary key. Let's select the students, get inside the design. And after that, let's select the ID itself, come to the properties. And here I have the identity and it is yes, it means it is auto-generated number. So let's close this and get inside the project. And after all of this, we have three other items that we're going to add them at the bottom of the form. So the first one is rec user. And don't forget to add the space for the last name. This is the last name, add the space, and also the first name, add the space like this. And don't forget, if I take a look over here, we need to add this using the label. So let's select this, copy, and paste it over here inside the panel. This is my panel and paste over here. And this is my first one. And name it the reg user or registration user. And after that, let's come over here and copy that and paste it the next label over here. This is my label. Come to the properties, auto size, set it to the false and resize it up to here, for instance, reg user up to this one. And also this is user, so let's add the R at the end like this, reg user. And after that, I have the reg user, and I can easily add the hyphen like this. Now let's copy this and paste it over here easily and quickly. This is the next one is reg date. So this is reg date. And also I can use the uppercase D for that and resize it up to here, reg date. Now let's copy this and paste it over here. And it is the reg time, reg date and reg time. So this is time, reg time. Now it's time to add the names for these items one by one. This is the reg time, so it's a great idea to assign the reg time. This is the label, so reg time LBL. And after that, the next one is this. It is the reg date. Also, let's select this and put it up to here and move this up to here. It looks better now. The reg time label, the next one is reg date. Yes, reg date label. And after that, this is the reg user label or LBL. And after that, we need to assign the appropriate name for all of this. So it's time consuming, so stay with me. Welcome back. Now I successfully added the appropriate and unique name for all of these controls. The first one is the comment T box. T box stands for text box. And also the next one, address, the email up to the, and also I have the grade, but the grade is combo box. So let's say C box instead of the T box, C box, and also the class is C box, and this is the result. And the next one is date of birth. You can see the date of birth. And finally, I have the ID T box. Also, we have the name for all of this. Now let's run and let's see the result. Well done. Now my design is accomplished successfully. and I did it. So go ahead and open up your project and start designing the items inside your form. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I will show you how to easily add the columns to the data group you control by the binding source, and also how to load the data inside it by the table adapter. So let's dig in. Till now, we talked about how to design something like this. If I take a look in the structure over here, we are at the last step using the binding source. If you wanna add the data inside the data table to the items on the form, then you need to use the binding source. And also we're gonna use the table adapter to load the data from the database inside the data table. Then use the binding source to connect it to the items on the form. So let's search in the action cover here and come to this one. Before doing anything, we need to get inside the toolbox. You can see the toolbox over here. I have two categories. The first one is Microsoft Data.SQL client. I don't need that, so collapse. Then I have the students. This is my project, and inside the project, indeed, this is my students project. And inside my project, I have the SQL DS. Let's come over here. It looks better now. So I have the SQL DS, and you can see the SQL DS, and it is the dataset. So this is my SQL DS or my dataset. And after that, I have the students table adapter. So you can see the students table adapter over here, and this one, the students table adapter, to load the data or save it back. And after that, if I take a look over here, come to this, I have the table adapter manager. That is not necessary at this step. In this step, if you wanna use the binding source, indeed this binding source, you need to add a reference to the data set, to this one, and also to the data tables inside it. So let's come over here and come to this, and I have the SQL DS, and SQL DS is my data set or a reference to it. Drag and drop on your form like this. So the student DS is added over here because it hasn't any GUI or interface. And if we want to work with it, we can get access to its properties and methods. So if you can see all of these items over here, no worries. Just come to the tools, get inside the options and the Windows Form Designer, the general. And at the end, I have the automatically populate toolbox. Set it to true. Then close the Visual Studio entirely and open it from scratch. And also, it's really great on you to come get inside the build and rebuild your project. And after that, close the project one more time and open it from scratch. So this was the dataset and a reference to my dataset over here indeed. Now it's time to add the binding source. The binding source is over here inside the toolbox. So come to all Windows forms and the binding source, put it over here. The binding source has two main properties, the data source and the data member. The data source indeed is a reference to my dataset, to this one, indeed, the SQL DS. So click over here and all the data sources and a student reg list instances. A student reg list means the items over here on the form. So let's go over here and expand that. I have the SQL DS and exactly this one. So let's select it easily and quickly. Now let's go over here and the data member. The data member indeed is the data table inside my dataset, and it is the students over here. So come over here and come to this one, the data source and the data member. Click on it and select the students. This is the data table inside my dataset, and easily. And it's done. Now I have the binding source over here. And the next step is time to assign the binding source to my data grid view control. Now let's select the data grid view control itself. Click on the smart tag, click on this. And here I need to select the data source. So by default, it is none. You can select the binding source one because I want to connect my data grid view control to the binding source. And also if I come to the properties, I have the data source exactly over here. So click on it and select the binding source. After a couple of seconds, wow, what happened? All of the columns automatically are added over here. This is the power of the binding source, and you can see the binding source over here. So if I select this and come to the project, save everything, now it's a really great idea to rebuild the project to be sure everything is done. So it's rebuilt, and if I run the application, I can see the result. Let's be patient. As you see over here, I have the columns, but I haven't any data inside it. Why? Because we need to use the table adapter to load the data from the SQL server and put it inside the data table. Currently, my data tables are completely empty, so we haven't any data. As the result, we need to use the table adapter. To do that, come over here and let's stop the application. Come to the toolbox, and the next control over here is the students table adapter. Indeed, this one, the students table adapter. So it is the reference indeed, and drag and drop on your form like this. So it's added at the bottom because it hasn't any kind of GUI or interface. We're going to use its properties or the methods. Now let's select the form, double click on it, and the new method for my form is added over here automatically. A student rec, this is my form name, and load event. The codes inside this event will be executed at the startup of this form. And let's put it over here. It looks better now. Now let's write the codes to load the data inside the data table. It's really simple. Just write this, and after that, the table adapter. My table adapter is over here, the students table adapter. I use this over here for better access and easier access to the table adapter. Also, you can delete that. It's not important matter, and app dot. In this list, you can see the different properties and methods of the table adapter. If I take a look over here, I have the fill all method in my table adapter to load the data. And if I configure that, indeed it is this query. Select up to the end. I want to execute this fill all method. First, we talked about this matter, and also if I come to the preview data and preview. So after calling and executing the fill all the data are loaded inside my data table. So come over here and come to this one and say the fill all. You can see the fill all over here at parentheses. This method needs one parameter inside it, and it is the data table. So you can add the data table inside it. The data table should be DS, SQL DS, students data table. If I take a look over here, now come to this one more time at the parentheses like this. It is the DS, so the DS is this, the folder, SQL DS, the SQL DS, and then students data table inside it. Currently, we have the reference to the SQL DS, and it is over here. It is the SQL DS. Then we can get access to the data tables inside it. So come over here and say this. This is optional, so you can skip that. This and the dataset. Or if I take a look, its name exactly is schools DS. So let's write this schools DS. Add dots inside it, I can get access to the tables. So the students is the data table inside the school DS. And everything is done. Now if I add the semicolon at the end and run the application, I can see the great and amazing result. Wow, what happened? Another error message. No worries, if you got any unexpected errors, don't worry about anything and don't be afraid. Just try to find the origin of the error. Or here I have the certificate chain was issued by the authority that is not trusted. So let's copy this and get inside the Google and come over here, search it. And the Microsoft official website has a link. And if I take a look inside it, As you see, the solution is really simple and straightforward. Just add this part to the connection string of the table adapter. It's really simple. So if I take a look, come to this and over here exactly. Trust server certificate equals true. You can copy this or you can write it manually. So let's copy this for faster results. And at the beginning, I have the semicolon. Don't forget to copy the semicolon. Get inside the project, stop the project itself, come to the dataset, select the table adapter. As I mentioned previously, the table adapter has the connection that is responsible for finding the database. So we need to configure the connection. Come over here and get inside the table adapter, select that, come to the properties. Over here, I have the connection. Expand that, and if I resize it up to here, and also up to here, I have the connection string. I can easily add the code over here. So don't forget to paste it. And we need to add the semicolon to separate the new setting from the previous one. It's really important matter to add the semicolon. Semicolon trust server certificate equals true. Now let's come over here, and if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. Well done. Now I can see the results over here. Everything is loaded from the number 1 up to the number 8 over here. It means everything is working perfectly. So we finished the ADO.NET technology. Indeed, we are over here. We use the table adapter to load the data from the database inside the data table. Then we use the binding source to connect the data inside the data table to the items on my form. It's really simple and straightforward like this. But as you see over here, we need to configure the data grid view control itself. It's time consuming. In my upcoming tutorial, I'll talk about this matter. And also, it's a really great idea to connect the columns to the items over here, including the text boxes and the time picker and also the combo box. Let's talk about it in the upcoming tutorials. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start binding all of the items on the form to the data table using the binding source. So let's begin. First, we talked about how to use the binding source to connect the items, including the data grid view, to the data table. And for the final step, it's time to connect the items on the form to the data table using the binding source. It's really simple and it's straightforward. Just come over here and come to this one. Let's start working with the ID. This is the ID, and I have the binding source 1 over here. So this is the ID. Come to the properties. At the top, if I take a look over here, I have the data binding, expand that, and here I have the text property. I want to connect the text property of the ID text box to the ID column, indeed to this ID column. It's really simple and it's straightforward. So let's come over here and come to this one more time. Data binding, the text, and expand that. I have the binding source 1. And inside it, I have the ID. So let's select this, the ID. And after that, if I select the next one, and it is the first name. So the text property, the binding source 1, and the first name. The next one is the last name. So let's select this, come to the text property, and binding source 1, and the last name. The next one is date of birth. So if I take a look in the date time picker and scroll down, we have the value property. So this is the value property that we're gonna connect that to the binding source. So let's come over here, data binding, and here I have the value. So let's select this, come to the binding source 1, and after that date of birth, like this. And after that, I have the combo box. This is the combo box, but each combo box has the text over here. We're gonna connect the text property to the binding source. So this is the combo box text property, and it is, if I take a look over here, it is the grade. So this is the grade. The next one is class. Come over here and select the class like this. The next one is mobile or cell number, and click over here, the cell number or mobile. The next one is email, and the email easily and quickly. Also, I have the address. You can see the address over here, text, and this is the address. And finally, I have the comment. This is the comment, and I need to connect that to the comment column like this. In addition, we have another 3 items, including the rec user, rec date, and rec time. So let's select the rec user. It is the label, so we have the text property. Select this, come to the binding source, and I have the rec user like this. And after that, if I take a look, this is the next, and it is rec date. So this is the rec date. And finally, I have the rec time over here. So this is the rec time up to this one. Also, don't forget to check all of this from scratch, one by one. It's really important matter to check all of them from scratch. Now, if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. Well done. Now we have all of these over here that are connected to the database easily and quickly. And about the date indeed, this is the null, so you can see it has the value inside it. But over here I have the date of birth and it is null. If I select the next one, this one, and after that if I select this, it's working. And also if I select this, it's working. But in the null, exactly over here, if I check it over here, I haven't anything inside the database, but I have the value over here. It means we can't bind the null to the datetime picker. So what is the solution? The solution is add the items to the date of birth column. So I have the MySQL, the tables, and this is added. And it means we need to add the date to all of this date of birth. Where are you, date of birth? This is the date of birth. And I can come over here and write something inside it. For instance, 03. And after that over here, now all of my records has the date of birth. And this is really important matter. And also, if I save everything and close this, come to the students and right click on it and design. Over here, if I take a look, the date of birth can be null. You can see it can be null. It's not necessary to allow null over here. So you can uncheck this checkbox and save everything. Then you can't enter the null value to the date of birth. And it's not possible anymore. If you do that, it's very simple. Just uncheck this, save everything, and after that, let's close this. Come to the Visual Studio. So come over here and get inside the data set over here. This is the date of birth. So let's stop the project, get inside the properties, and as you see, allow DB null is true. Don't change it manually from here. You need to change it automatically from configuring the table adapter. It's very simple. Just come to the table adapter, right click on it, configure, and come to the query builder and check the DOB is checked. So it is over here and all of my records has the date of birth. So click OK, come to the next, and don't forget to check this checkbox. And it's a really important matter. So come to the next, all of the select, insert, update, delete are generated and finish. So if I take a look, as you see, everything looks great. Now the DOB or date of birth has allowed to be null to false. It's really simple and straightforward. Now if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. So I have the date of birth and everything looks Great and amazing. In addition, we have the grade over here, and it is null, so it's not an important matter. We can leave it null. And this is the 12, or this is null. You can see the null. Also, I have the class that is null, and without any problem I can do that. But in the datetime picker, we can't show the null date. As the result, we need to enter same value as the date inside the date of birth, and after that show it inside the datetime picker over here. Well done. Now my mission is accomplished successfully to connect the items on my form to the items in the binding source. Go ahead and open up your project and start connecting your items to the binding source. Thanks, and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start customizing the data grid view control. So let's see. Then now we talked about how to design something like this, and also how to bind the data grid view control and also the items on the binding source. In the next step, it's time to customize the data grid view control. So come over here and come to this one, click on this and the edit columns. You can select the edit columns from here, or come to the columns in the properties and the collection over here. This is the column editor, so you can edit the columns. You can easily remove any column that you want. For instance, let's remove this, this, or this. And also you can add the columns. So let's select this, add data bound column. Data bound column means the columns that you want to bind it to the binding source. So let's scroll down and set it to the reg user. I have the name over here and also the header text. So you can change it to the reg user, for instance, and add it. So it's added over here. You can see it. The reg user is added over here. And after that, you can change the order of the columns. For instance, put it at the top, or move it over here, or something like that. And finally, I can delete that easily and quickly. And after that, I can select this, come to the properties. The most common properties are the header text. This is the header text, and all of these are header text. So let's write uppercase ID. And after that, this is the first name. Come over here and split the first from the name, the last name, and this is the last name. And then we have another common property, and it is the width of the column. By default, it is 100 pixels. So you can select the ID, come to the properties and the width. You can see it is big one. So I can select this, and this time, for instance, 65. And if I click OK, then you can see the width is smaller than the previous one. And also I have multi-line first name. It means we need to increase the width of these columns. So come over here, click on the smart tag, edit columns. And here I have the first name. So come to the properties and I have the width. I can easily increase this up to 130. And after that, the last name up to 150 like this. And if I click OK, so it's better now. And after that, we can easily come to the properties and change the visibility to show or hide. For instance, I don't want to show the address, and this is the address, so you can see the visible over here. I can set it to the false, and also the comment, so I don't want to make it visible, so set it to false. And if I click OK, currently I can't see anything until I run the application. So let's come over here, and as you see, I can see the comment and also the address over here because both of them are invisible. So let's come over here and come to this one more time, click over here and get inside the edit columns one more time. Now in this window, if I select the ID and come over here, I have another important property, and it is a data property name. By default, it is the ID. And if I select the first name, for instance, this is the first name. This is really important one, and never change it because it is the column name that is binded to the binding source. So it's really important matter. And the only thing we need is selecting that, not writing it. Just select that. For instance, this is the first name. You need to select the first name, not write. So never change this property because it is by default and automatic. Now let's click OK and it's done. And after that, I have another important properties, including the enable adding, enable editing, enable deleting, and enable column reordering. Let's check this one and run the application to see what's going on inside my data grid view control. So this is my data grid view control. I can easily select this and delete that by the keyboard, or I can write anything that I want. Don't forget, these are only inside the data grid view control, and currently we haven't any code to save it in the database. So freely change it everywhere that you want. And also I can reorder the column like this, or this one over here. And this is the new record. So I can add the new record over here like this without any problem. So it's really simple and straightforward. And if you wanna use this form, if you wanna add the new item using the add button or edit that or delete, you need to uncheck all of the checkboxes. So come over here and select this one, and after that get inside the smart tag. Then come over here and uncheck enable adding. You can see I haven't any empty row over here, and if I check it back, you can see the empty row. Don't forget to uncheck enable adding and also enable editing, enable deleting. You are completely free to enable column reordering and set it to true or false. So come over here and let's run the application and let's see the result. Now let's go over here and select this. This time I can't write anything inside the data grid view control. And also if you come over here, come to the last, you can see the new record over here. And also I can delete the record entirely using my delete key on the keyboard. It means these are completely ready to write the codes by these buttons. Well done. Now we learned how to quickly customize the data grid view control and give it better looking. So in the next step, it's time to start writing the codes for these buttons. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily write the C# code to enable and disable these buttons, and also the group box, this one, then the data grid view control. So let's begin. For better understanding, if I take a look over here, currently the save and cancel is disabled, and also all of these are disabled, but my data grid view is enabled. So this is the default enable and disable status after loading the form. Let's do it. Come over here and come to this one. This is the cancel. You can see the cancel button over here. So enable, set it to the false by default. And also I have the save. You can see save button, enable, set it to false. Also I have the group box. This is the group box, and I can name it details group box. Let's name it details group box. And after that, come to the enabled and set the enabled property of the group box to the false. So this is. And after that, if I take a look, this is the data grid view that it should be enabled. So if I take a look, the enabled equals true. Now if I run, I can see the result. So by default, the cancel and saved are disabled, and also all of these items, but my data grid view is enabled and is working. So if I take a look in the example and sample over here, and the next step is time to write the code for the add, edit, and delete. If I click the add, then all of these are disabled, and save and cancel are enabled. And if I click on the cancel, then these are enabled, and the save and cancel are disabled. So let's write the code for the add, edit, and delete. Come over here and come to this one. You can see it is the new button, the next one is edit, and the next one is delete. Click over here, and on the new button indeed, the new button click is added over here. Let's create the void and name it Indeed, it is the void method, and name it new edit del what. This is, and after that close it and add the curly braces. And after that we need to call this one in the new button, then the edit, then the delete. So come over here and come to this one, click on the next button. The next one is edit. So the edit event is added over here. And also I have the delete. So the delete is added over here. And let's copy this and paste it over here in the new button at the top, then the edit, and finally the delete button over here. So it's time to write the code. At the first step, it's time to disable the new button. So this is the new button, and enabled equals to false, like this. And after that, to start my tutorial, let's copy this part and paste over here, then the edit button and set it to false. And finally I have the delete button and it should be disabled. So del button enabled equals false. Now let's add some comment over here. And after that, for the next buttons, including the save and cancel, this should be enabled. So let's come over here and paste it like this and say save. Save button enabled equals true. This is the true, like this. And also for the cancel button, so this is the cancel button equals to true, like this. And after that we have two other buttons, the cancel and the save. Let's check it over here. So if I click on the add, for instance, and click on the cancel, then both of these are disabled and these are enabled, exactly reverse of these buttons. So it's time to write the code for this. Now come over here and click on the save button. You can see the save button is over here, and the next one is the cancel button. So this is the cancel button. Come to the top and copy this to speed up my tutorial, and I can come over here and add it. Or for better aligning of the codes, I can put it at the top. You are completely free to put anywhere that you want. So this is the save, then the cancel, and this is cancel. And in this situation, we need to enable the no edit and delete. So let's copy the true. It's over here, here, and here. And we need to disable the save button. So this is the false and also the cancel button, like this. Then we need to call this in the save button and also inside the cancel button, like this. So if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. By default it is okay, and if I click on the add, so these are enabled and these are disabled. Cancel, so it's working. Delete, save, edit, cancel, edit, save, everything is working perfectly. But it's time to enable and disable this. So if I take a look in the sample over here, if I click on the add, these text boxes are enabled and my data grid view is disabled. So come over here and inside the new button, exactly over here, let's add some code and say this, my data grid view control. Data grid view control, I need to disable that. So enabled equals false. And after that, I need to enable the group box. So this, the group box, the indeed details group box, enabled. We need to enable that. So it is true. And the reverse of this should be for the save button. And if I come over here, this is the save button and paste over here, the reverse. So this is the true. It means enable the data grid view and disable the details group box. So this is the details group box. Now if I stop and run the application one more time, now let's select this, it's disabled and it's working. Now click on the add. So these are enabled and the data grid view is disabled. And also if I cancel, so this is enabled and delete, so it's working, and the save, so it's disabled and it's working exactly like my application over here. So if I take a look over here, it's not enabled. And if I come to the cancel and edit, for instance, so it's working. And in the delete, you can see this is disabled, and in the delete, this is disabled. So for the delete button, we need to disable the items over here. But if I take a look and click on the edit, we need to enable all of this. To fix this error, we have different options. So if I take a look in the codes over here, I have the new edit button, and inside it, I have the details group that is enabled, and it is enabled equals to true. So we can cut this line of the code and put it individually for the different buttons. For instance, for the new button, we need to enable that. So I can add it over here for the new button like this. And let's copy this. And for the edit, we need to enable the details group box. But for the delete, we need to disable that. So come over here and set it to false like this to disable the details group box and any items inside it. So let's see the result. Now if I click on the edit, these are enabled and I can work with them. If I click on the add, these are enabled and I can work with them. If I click on the delete, these are disabled and also these are disabled. So I can't work with this because I want to delete the selected records. Everything looks great and amazing. So my mission is accomplished successfully to enable and disable the items on my form based on clicked button at the top. Go ahead and complete your project and stay with me with my upcoming tutorial. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start writing the code for add, edit, and delete buttons. Now let's begin. First, we talked about how to write the C# code to enable and disable these buttons. In the next step, it's time to write the code for the add, then edit, and delete. Let's start working with the first one. If I take a look, currently my data are loaded over here. The only thing I need is adding the new record inside the data table, or editing the data inside the data table, or deleting the record from the data table. Indeed, we're gonna use this structure, and all of the operations should be inside the data table. Later, after clicking on the save button, we're gonna use the table adapter to get the changes and save back the changes inside the database. So the main component for writing the code for the three buttons is the binding source. It's really simple. Just come over here, and this is my binding source 1. You can see it over here, and it is connected to the SQL DS, my dataset, and also the students. So come to this and click on it. So we're going to use the binding source and come over here and say this, and after that my binding source 1 add dot. In this list you can see the different methods and properties of the binding source. I want to add the new record, so I have the add new over here. It is the method, and if I click on it, you can easily start working with the add new button. Don't forget to add the parentheses at the end. It's an important matter, and the semicolon. So if I run, I can see the results. As I mentioned, currently adding the new record is inside the data table. Later, I'll show you how to save back the changes inside the database. Now come over here and add the new record. As you see, the new record is added over here and all of these are cleared. But the negative one is inside the ID column. The negative one means this is the new record. It's very simple and straightforward. And also in the next step, it's time to assign the data to these triple labels, the rec user, the rec date, and also the rec time. Now let's go over here and come to this one. Let's just start working with the rec date. This is if I take a look. Now let's select the rec date. You can see the rec date label. The next one is the rec time label, and the last one is rec user label. Let's just start working with the rec date. So come over here and click on this, and easily I can add the record. Then let's add the data to that and say this and the rec date. This is the rec date. Now the rec date label add dot which property? The text property. I want to assign the date to the text property of my rec date label. Equals to what? Equals to date time, and after that add dot and now. Current date and time of the computer. Previously we talked about this, and currently I assume that you watched my previous tutorials. Now then the dot, and I want to get the date. So this is the date and this is date. I want to assign it to the text property. So the text is a string. It means we need to convert the date to a string, then assign it to the text property of my label. Now let's apply this one for more space. Now if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. So let's add this. Now it is the date exactly like my computer date. So it's done. In addition, if I take a look over here, it's a really great idea to assign another color for these labels. So let's go over here, close this one more time and open it from scratch to prevent any unexpected errors. Come over here and the for color. This is the for color. Let's select another color like this one or even this, and for color change it to this, and finally for the rec user, and this is my favorite color. So I have the code for the rec date, and for the rec user I can write the fixed value. Later in my upcoming tutorials I'll show you how to get the login user and assign it over here. So let's come over here and click on the add, and before the rec date let's say this, and after that rec user. This is the rec user. Which property? The text property equals to login user. Later I'll show you how to change it to the actual login name. And after that I have the next property, and let's say this, then the rec time. This is the rec time dot text property equals to what? Exactly like previous one, date time dot now, and after that if I add dots, then time of day. This is the time of day, and I can easily say time of day and to a string like this. Now if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. So let's click on this. Now it is login user over here, the rec date, and also the rec time over here. But I have more information over here. That is not necessary. It means we can easily format the time of day. It's really simple and straightforward. Just go over here and the toString, if I add the parentheses, as you see, it has different overloads. So the most common is format as a string. I can add my custom format inside it. I wanna have only the hour, the minutes, and seconds, no more information. So let's write HH, uppercase H. It means this is the 24 hours format. So it is 24 hours format, and it means the uppercase H. And after that add colon, then lowercase m, then the S, double S. Double S means 2 digits second, 2 digits minute, and 2 digits in the 24-hour format, hour. Now let's go over here, and the toString should be after the now. So let's go over here, and this is the now. The now includes the time, the date, and many other matters of the computer. First, we talked about this matter. So the date time now to string, then the HHMM and SS. So if I run, I can see the great and amazing result. Well done. Now click on the add, and as you see, I have the hour, minutes, and seconds, and also all of this information over here. And what about the next button? The next button is edit. For the edit, we don't need to do anything. The only thing we need is, indeed, if I take a look, currently we haven't the code for the cancel, so I got that error. So the only thing I need is enabling the details group box like this. Then we can save back the changes using the save button. Later I'll talk about this matter. What about the delete? For the delete, we're gonna use the binding source to delete the record from the data table. Later, we're gonna use the table adapter to save back the deleted record inside the database. So let's go over here and come to this one. And for the edit, as I mentioned, we don't need to do anything. So let's scroll this one more time and it looks better. So come over here and this is edit. We don't need to write anything over here. And the delete. This is the delete. Come to this and after a couple of seconds, let's write this and my binding source. This is my binding source and remove. Remove what? Remove currents. To remove the currently selected record easily and quickly. So let's run and let's see the result. Now let's come over here and this is the edit, cancel, and I have the record number 1 and delete. So the number 1 is deleted over here. And also I can select, for instance, number 3 and delete that. So it's deleted successfully. But these aren't deleted from the database. Indeed, if I take a look over here and execute, so all of the records are over here. Why? Because we need to use the next step to get access to the table adapter and save back the changes inside the database. And we're going to use the table adapter inside the save button. Currently, my save button hasn't any line of the code, so I can easily delete anything from the data table inside my dataset. Well done. Now we learned how to write the code for add, edit, and delete buttons. What about the next step? In the next step, I'm going to show you how to write the code for the save button. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Thanks and thanks goodness. Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to show you how to easily start writing the code for the save button. Now let's begin. Till now, we talked about how to write the code for the add, edit, and the delete button. But before doing anything, let's get inside the edit button over here. As I mentioned, we don't need to do anything. The only thing we need is enabling the details group box. In addition, it's really great idea to assign the values to the reg user, reg date, and also reg time. We can copy the codes from the add new button. So we can copy this part to split my tutorial and paste it inside the edit button over here to save the edit operations, something like the edit user and also edit date, finally the edit time. So let's come over here and come to the save button. This is the save button. And currently we have something like this over here. So let's come over here. If I want to save back the changes inside the database, we need to get the changes from the data table that are done by the user using the binding source. Then we need to execute the queries, including the insert, update, and delete query based on the changes over here. Then execute it against the database and update the database based on the changes inside the data table. So we need to use the table adapter to update back the changes. So come over here and come to this one. Before doing anything, we need to tell to the binding source. And let's say this, the binding source, one dot end edit to end any edit operation inside the data table. So it's really important matter. Never forget this add. Never forget this step. It's a really important step. And after that, it's time to get the table adapter. But before doing that, let's write try and put the code inside the try structure and say try, and this is the exception. I can name it for instance EX, and also I can say message box. This is message box dot show and the EX and the message of my error. Now let's come over here and say this the table adapter, and I have a student's table adapter 1 at dot. If I wanna update the changes back inside the database, we have the update method. This is not the update inside the queries. It is another method inside the table adapter to update every changes inside the database. So if you call the update method of the table adapter, and this is the update, the table adapter automatically check the rows one by one inside the data table and get the changes. For the deleted record, the table adapter will execute the delete query. For the updated or changed record, the table adapter will execute the update query. And for the new record, we'll execute the insert query. First, we talked about the queries, and if I take a look over here, the table adapter and has three main queries: the update, the insert, and the delete. These are generated based on the select query. Previously, we talked about this matter. So I have the update over here, and inside it, we need to use the data table to be updated. And if I take a look, I have the SQL.ds, a reference to my dataset. This is my dataset. A reference to it is SQL.ds. So let's say this, and after that SQL.ds. Which data table? The student data table inside it. If I take a look, this is the students table. Indeed, this one, the students data table. And it means hello C#, please get the changes inside this data table and update the SQL Server database. So if you hover on the update, it has the return and its type is integer. The return type is the number of saved or changed records. So I can come over here and let's define the int and name it for instance R or result. And also I can say R equals to this one. So the R is number of saved records or number of changed records inside the SQL Server database. Now I have the R and I can easily add the if structure and say if R is greater than the 0. It means let's copy this and paste over here like this and say done. I can write the done over here or saved. Saved. And after that, I can add the number of saved items. And I can add plus R. The R is integer and the save is a string. So we need to convert the R to a string like this. So it's simple and straightforward. Now the R is number of saved records inside the database. So if the R is greater than the 0, show this message to the user. Now let's add the breakpoint, for instance, over here and a student. And let's see the result. So let's add the new record, for instance. This is the new record and A, double A, and the grades and the class. And if I say, so at the first step, let's use the binding source to end edit. It's a really important matter. Go to the next line. And currently, as you see, the error is column DOB, doesn't allow nulls. So let's put this line of the code inside the try for preventing and for crashing the application, and say this line of the code, cut and paste it over here. So it looks better now. Now let's run one more time and let's check the result. So let's add new records and write A, double A, and the grade and also the class and save it. So the column DOB doesn't allow nulls. It means we need to select the date of birth. So let's select this and change it to anything that we want. For instance, this one, and save it. So it's done without any problem. And to fix this error, it's really great idea to add the default value for my date of birth. After clicking on the add no, get the current date of the computer and assign it to date of birth. So come over here and come to this one, and after a couple of seconds, this is my date of birth and date of birth DTP. So come over here, and after this, let's add the new code over here. You can add it at the end or anywhere that you want. And this is the result. Let's say this, and after that, date of birth, DTP, date time picker, the value. As you see, the value is date time. So we can assign the now or the current date of the computer to the value exactly like this. And in addition, we can use another line of the code. For instance, I can add the custom date. So no date, and this is no date time, and add the parentheses. Inside it, I have up to 16 different overloads. And my favorite one, if I take a look, is the number 4. So it needs the year as the integer. I can say, for instance, 2005, and add comma, then the month, the 12, then the comma, then the day, for instance, 20, like this. So don't forget to add the semicolon at the end. This is the fixed date that I can add it, or you can add the current date of computer as the date of birth. But in any condition, you need to add at least one date to the date time picker because it can't be null. Previously, we talked about this, and if I take a look in the students and the columns, as you see over here, I have the date of birth and not null. It means we can't assign the null value to this. So in any condition, we need to assign the value to it. Now let's run the application and let's see the results, and also come over here and add the breakpoint exactly over here or here. Now let's come over here and add new records and add the A, double A, or let's write B, double B, and as you see, it is the date, the default date after clicking on the add new, and also the grade, and also the class and the mobile. So let's save everything. Now let's come to the next line, and the R. The R is, if I take a look, is 1. It means one record is updated. And if R is greater than the 0, show this message to the user saved like this. And also if I continue, so it's done. Now if I check the results over here, currently I have up to 8 records. Let's execute the query, and I have 2 new records, the number 9 and number 10 over here. And also it's really great idea to show the message to the user over here. If there isn't any saved record, then show I can't save. Try again. So let's come over here and say can't save, try again. So this is for the conditions that the table adapter can't save the changes into the database in any condition. And also we don't need to use this part. So let's select that, and everything looks great and amazing now. Well done. Now we learned how to use the table adapter to save back the changes inside the SQL database. And also we can check the edit button. So the first one is Bob. You can see the Bob. And I want to change it to Bob by 3B. This is the edit operation. So if I click on the save, saved. And also you can see the Bob over here. Then if I check the SQL Server database, currently it is Bob over here. And if I execute, now it is the Bob with 3 B's at the end like this. So it's done. And also if I come over here and I want to delete the number 9 record. So come over here and the number 9. This is the number 9. And if I delete that and save. So it's saved. Now if I execute the query, so it's saved and the number 9 is deleted over here. So the number 9 is utility. Okay, I enjoyed a lot. Now go ahead and open up your project and start writing the code for the save button. In the upcoming tutorial, I'll show you how to add the code for the cancel button. It's time consuming, so stay with me. Thanks and thanks goodness.